It's great to be here. We're going to recap just a few photos from Ephesus from a couple weeks ago. Some of you who weren't here will enjoy it. Well, we had a great time that morning, and people said they learned a lot. And this will be a quick review with bigger frame pictures of the city of Ephesus. And then I will talk about authority, which Pastor Vern has left me to do on this issue. Anyway, I will turn it over to my wife, the good doctor, Ruth Johnson.
Well, thank you. We thought we'd try one more time. I think that was the longest improv session I ever done, certainly on a non-medical topic. So we'll go ahead and do a very quick tour so that the visual tour we promised you'll have a chance to take a look at. You want to run that till 11? All right, again, just quickly a map. As you recall, if you were here, Rome ruled this area at the times of Jesus and Paul. What was called Asia, which is a Roman name, was the western part of this whole Anatolian Asia Minor. So to put in perspective, Ephesus is here, Smyrna here, across the Aegean is Corinth, Athens under the arrow, the town now called Thessaloniki, or by the Greeks, or Salonika by us as Thessalonians, and Philippi. So just some of the letters that went to churches at those places during Paul's time.
And you can cross the Aegean in an overnight ferry.
Yep. And this now is a schematic of the city of Ephesus. For the most part, buses and tourists come in here through this magnificent gate down this street, the Curate Street. The great library of Celsus and the Augustan arches that we talked about here is a great theater in Ephesus. And then an agora, or a street that goes to all the common marketplace, kind of the Apache Mall of Ephesus is here, and the harbor, which is now silted in. Okay, so this is this view coming in from that top upper gates that you walk in if you were on a tour. You see the columns, the remainders of them, downhill to this first juncture. This library of Celsus, which is quite remarkable, was built about 125 A.D., so it wasn't there actually when Paul was visiting it. And again, Paul was there about the early 50 to 55, a couple of years in that time frame. This is a small theater, it's called the Odeon. This is along that way as you walk down toward the library of Celsus. This is where the city council met. This is where theater drama was done. It sat about 1,000 to 1,500 people. So it was a smaller scale theatrical area. And this is kind of looking down onto its stage. Remember, I tried to show you before. This is Nike, the Greek goddess of victory, or Nike as we call her. And again, remember, this is the swoosh that the Japanese have now made famous in their clothing and hats for athletes. This is actually a reconstruction of a Roman bathroom. They had public baths. In that time, they were often had marble slabs, the bathrooms, each one here, and then they just put some wooden platforms here.
We're going to build one at Zumbro for
That's for guys only, I'd say. So here's another, just an idea. Some of the streets in wealthier areas actually had mosaic tiles. And over here, I'll show you a little bit later, on the far left are where some of the wealthy terrace houses were in this area. On the right, the arches over there are part of the Temple of Hadrian. He came a little later, but again, there was an imperial cult was among the other kind of quasi-religious activities going on in the city of Ephesus. This is a close-up of the Temple of Hadrian. This is some of the excavation of the lovely terrace houses, which were owned by the wealthy of Ephesus. There's another one. One thing to point out is that we always think of these places being white or white, whatever. And actually they weren't. They were painted. It's just they largely, over 2,000 years disappeared. If you've been to Ephesus or if you've read about it, this is one of the humorous points on the tours. This is walk. This is supposed to be this way to the brothel. And after I show that there's kind of a woman's head here, and then this foot, somebody after the last time I spoke said that the size of the foot may have had some significance in that you shouldn't go there unless your feet were at least that big. That sounds apocryphal to me, but it's kind of a fun story. This is actually, there were Roman baths there in every city that Rome ruled, and this actually would be with the roof, with the floor out. These were underneath. There were hot fires underneath of them that came up with essentially steam, and the heat warmed the water, and that was kind of the structure of them. There were aqueduct systems that went for miles actually throughout the city of Ephesus, and these terracotta pipes of various sizes were part of that system. This is the Library of Celsus here, which is a magnificent structure built by one of the wealthy citizens. It at one time held 100,000 scrolls or the books of that era. This is the Augustan Gate. Remember, Caesar Augustus was ruling the Roman Empire at the time of Jesus, certainly. And then we'll look at the Augustan Gate closer in the next slide. Temple of Hadrian, the Library of Celsus from a great view. This is inside the Library of Celsus. They had 4 sort of reset areas. There was a sculpture in each one. This is the Greek word for Sophia, or wisdom. So they had those words in there, and this was the wisdom was part of what that you would do when you went to the library.
And Celsus's name is underneath. The wisdom of Celsus.
Okay, thank you. Okay, again, view that. This is the Augustan Gate. It was not built by Augustine, but by the patrons of the city. And we have other photos we're not going to show, but were the people whose names they're patrons of the city built this in honor of Augustus.
I think it was the Pope.
Yeah. This is now looking down another way. You see the Library of Celsus, the ruins in the back, and we're now walking down this way where the great theater of Ephesus is. Now, this is part of the public agora. So in there it was like a mall. All public businesses down there. So it was markets and meetings and discussions and everything you might do in a public place. That's a broad view of the theater at Ephesus. It's really quite magnificent and holds about 25,000 people. This is the scene for those of you who were here 3 weeks ago. I told you we had this amazing kind of Pentecost experience. I won't go into that again, but it really was awesome. It's been said that when you go to a Roman ruin, the city of a Roman ruin, you could estimate the general population of that city by taking the seating of the stadium and multiplying by 10. So if you had a theater that could seat 25,000, it fits with the other data that we have that said that Rome was the only city known at that time that was larger than Ephesus, and the population was probably 250,000 people, which is pretty sizable. And later when it peaked, probably at about 300 to 350,000. Here's another view on a Century A.D. They still actually hold some concerts there. Occasionally rock concerts and other things there with light. They put lights up, but you can see the stage at the bottom. Again, here's a good view of the stage. So I said when the Korean women and Paul sang their hymns, is this hymn or are they both on? There. Okay. So this is where if you're standing there, the acoustics are phenomenal. This is the way from the theater back toward the harbor, but you see there's no harbor. And the primary reason that the city of Ephesus essentially died and then later just became a ruin is that the harbor silted in. And it's now a few kilometers from the Aegean, so it's not a port city anymore. This is an artist's reconstruction of what the Temple of Artemis was likely there. If you recall, the greatest Artemis of Ephesus, that Artemis was the great Greek goddess, and that Ephesus was a pilgrim city, and that people came from all over the known world to worship Artemis in this city, and that's our best reconstruction. And actually, all that's left is an absolute ruin. This is just a reconstructed pillar. You can just see people stacked short columns upon columns to indicate this is where the Temple of Artemis was. But it is interesting, it was one of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and now there's essentially nothing but a little bit around the base that's actually left. I'll just mention this briefly. This is the Basilica of St. John. This is outside the city for many reasons. There are different Johns associated with the city of Ephesus. I mentioned this was built in the 6th century A.D., and it was built by the Roman Emperor Justinian. And for those of you here before, I mentioned and showed a photo of the Hagia Sophia, or the Hagia Sophia, which is the Church of the Divine Wisdom, which was in Constantinople. That structure stood for 1,000 years as the greatest and largest cathedral in all of Christendom until the Vatican in St. Peter's was built. 1,000. And the Hagia Sophia still stands. It became a mosque, and then when Ataturk made Turkey a secular state, it became a museum. And it's still there, and it's an astonishing building it to if you have a chance. So that's a very quick, but at least some visual tour of Ephesus, which we promised